Have you ever really thought about what it means to possess something? I mean, it seems pretty simple, right? If you're holding it, it's yours. But in the eyes of the law, oh, it's so much deeper than that. Possession is this powerful, almost invisible concept that decides who gets to keep what when things get messy.
So let's try this on for size. You score a great deal on a smartphone online. You buy it, you've been using it for a month, it feels like your phone. Then, you get that sinking feeling. You find out it was actually stolen from its original owner. Now, you bought it in good faith, you had no idea, but someone else has a claim to it. So who has the better right here? Well, this is exactly the kind of puzzle that the law of possession is built to solve. So to figure this all out, here's our roadmap. We're going to start with what possession actually is in legal terms. Then we'll dive into the huge difference between good and bad faith. After that, we'll see it all in action with some real court cases, unpack the serious powers a possessor has, and finally, look at how possession can just disappear.
All right, first step, let's get past this simple idea of just physically holding on to something and really dig into what the law sees as possession.
The Civil Code defines possession as the holding of a thing or the enjoyment of a right. Now, notice the key word there is holding, not owning. And that little distinction, well, it opens up a whole new world of what it means to possess something.
So this basically splits into two big ideas. You can possess something in the concept of an owner, where you act like it's yours, even if it legally isn't, or you can possess it in the concept of a holder, where you know the real owner is someone else. Think about a tenant renting an apartment. They're a holder for the landlord, but someone who buys land with a faulty deed they don't know about, they're possessing it as an owner. And trust me, that distinction changes everything.
Okay, now we're getting to the real heart of it all. Good faith versus bad faith. Because it's not just how you possess something, it's what you know or don't know about your possession that really counts.
You see, the law draws a really bright line here. A possessor in good faith, there's someone who is genuinely, completely unaware of any flaw in how they got the item. You honestly thought that phone you bought online was a legitimate sale. Now, on the flip side, a possessor in bad faith knows there's a problem. They know that deed was forged, or they know for a fact that item was stolen.
And this is a legal superpower. Article 527 says that good faith is always presumed. The law starts by assuming you're the good guy. So if someone wants to accuse you of being a bad faith possessor, the burden of proof is totally on them. You don't have to prove your innocence, they have to prove you knew something was wrong. That's a huge advantage.
So, we've got the theory down. Now let's see how all these rules actually play out when things get messy and people end up in court fighting over who has the right to possess something.
So how does possession even start? Well, the law lays out three main paths. First, there's material occupation. You literally physically take it. Second, it's subject to our will, meaning it's under your control even if you're not holding it. And third, and this one is super important for the stories we're about to see, is through legal formalities, like signing a deed to a house.
Which brings us to a fantastic case, Wong versus Carpio. Here's the story. In 1972, a guy named Mercado gets the rights to a piece of land by signing a deed of sale. He doesn't live there, but he pops by every now and then to harvest coconuts. Fast forward 4 years, in 1976, another guy, Wong, sees this empty land, buys it from the exact same seller, and immediately starts building on it. So, 2 months later, Mercado shows up to get his coconuts and, whoops, someone else is on his land.
So here's the million-dollar question for the court, right? You've got two buyers. One guy has the older legal document, but he wasn't really there. The other guy has a more recent document, but he was the first one to physically move in and start developing the land. Who wins?
And the answer comes down to that idea of legal formalities. The court ruled in favor of Mercado. Why? Because his possession technically began way back in 1972, the moment he signed that deed. The law says that when you have two possessors, the one who's been at it longer gets preference. So Mercado's earlier legal possession beat out Wong's later physical possession.
Okay, now for a totally different kind of story. This time about stuff you can actually carry. A man pretending to be a Professor Cruz walks into EDCA Publishing and places an order for 406 books. He pays with a personal check, and EDCA, thinking it's a legit sale, happily hands over all the books.
So this imposter immediately takes 120 of those brand new books over to the Santos bookstore. The owner, Leonor Santos, does her homework. She even checks the invoice from IDCA, which is made out to this Professor Cruz. Everything looks totally above board, so she buys the books, paying for them in good faith.
And you know what happens next?
The check bounces. The professor was a complete fraud. Edika is furious. They realize they've been scammed. They track the books down to the Santos bookstore and, with the police, they just seize them. So the big question is, could they legally do that? Can they just take the books back from an innocent buyer?
The Supreme Court said no, absolutely not. And the reason is fascinating. See, EDCA wasn't robbed. They chose to hand over the books because they thought they were making a sale. This act gave the imposter what's called avoidable title. It's flawed, for sure, but it's still a type of ownership. And because the imposter sold the books to Santos bookstore, an innocent buyer, before EDCA could cancel that original fraudulent sale, Santos' right to possess those books was now legally protected.
I mean, these cases make it pretty clear, right? Being a possessor, especially one in good faith, gives you some serious legal muscle. So let's break down exactly what those powers and perks really are.
First off, the law is clear. Every possessor has a right to be respected in their possession. You can't just be thrown out without a proper legal process. Second, if you're possessing something, like you're the owner, the law assumes you have a just title until proven otherwise. And third, this one's a big deal. A possessor in good faith gets to keep all the fruits, we're talking crops from land, rent from a building, you name it, that they collected before anyone legally challenged them.
The law also gets really specific about who pays for what. Let's say you spend money on a property you're possessing. Whether you get that money back all comes down to good or bad faith. Now, necessary expenses, things needed just to keep the property from falling apart, everyone gets reimbursed for those. But only the good faith possessor gets to hold on to the property until they're paid back. For useful improvements, things that add value, the bad faith possessor gets nothing, zero. And as for pure luxury items, sorry, nobody gets a refund, though you might be able to take your fancy chandelier with you if it doesn't damage the place.
All right, so we know how you can get possession. But just as it can be gained, the law also has very clear rules for how it can be lost.
The law lays out 4 main ways this can happen. The first 3 are pretty obvious. You can just abandon the thing, you can assign it to someone else by selling it or giving it away, or the thing itself can be destroyed. But that 4th one, that one's wild. Your possession can actually be lost if another person possesses the thing for more than 1 year, even if they took it from you wrongfully in the first place.
So it's pretty clear that the old saying, possession is 9/10 of the law, doesn't even begin to cover it. It's a massive oversimplification. As we've seen, possession is this incredibly nuanced legal status. It's not just about what's in your hands. It's about your state of mind, it's about legal paperwork, and it's about a whole set of powerful rights that the law gives you for protection. So just take a look around you right now. Think about the keys in your pocket, the phone on your desk, even the chair you're sitting on. You possess all of them. But now you know it's not just about the physical act of holding them. It's about a whole web of legal principles. So now you can ask yourself, what is it that truly gives you the right to possess them?